Yay! Welcome back to the Better World podcast. Today we are focusing on episodes 62 to 67. I am Carolyn Leonard, and I am the assistant producer on the Better World Film Project. I am drinking water to represent the tears that I shed the first time I read one of these chapters. And related to those tears, my out of context quote is even the wind did not jostle the flame as Manon lifted it, a torch in the new day. So we are joined today by, you can introduce yourself and do all the things.
I'm Liv. I'm the wardrobe director for the Better World.
I'm Amber. I play Elid, and I'm bringing a fancy little cocktail called the Flame of War, and it comes with some fun things.
So excited.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, light.
It was lit. I saw it lit.
It's hard to see with the actual light on because it's also an
Oh, we
alcoholic
saw it.
flame. Yeah,
Yeah, there was
For the
fire.
just listeners, she just set her cocktail on fire. You might have heard the poofs of the flame.
yeah, but it's pretty fun.
I forgot to give my drink info, but I'm drinking a sour cherry cider. It's not on fire.
Mine's just water, so it's no fun. It's not
We
even
can't all
salt
be
water, which could really be my tears. Um, And today's theme that we are focusing on that I decided, sorry, I have a headache, so my apologies in advance for how my brain is working. The theme this time is hope. Felt like there was little bits of hope throughout the chapters. So
Lovely.
I guess we'll get started, and I have some very badly written notes, so again, my apologies. So we start with the witches. They are all fresh off of the fight with the matrons. Um, and Dorian and Manon are talking. They sort of talk about their shared now like royalty, the weight on their shoulders for that, the weight of casting off and either through death or running away, the people who kind of raised them and raised them to be a little bit different than they are now. They're kind of making up for having fought before. And they talk about how Manon does not want Dorian to go to Morath, and suggests an alliance, aka them marrying, so that they can join their two kingdoms together officially. And he is into it. But Dorian is saying that he doesn't want Manon to be doing that if it's just for the ability to join the kingdoms. And at one point during their conversation, she calls it a sacrifice, which Dorian, that's not really what he would want from her. So he turns her down. She admits that she's afraid that Dorian is not going to come back, aka die, when he's in Morath and or become a Valg, one of the two. And while they are having sex, Dorian decides that, or not decides, he sort of references that he wants to accept the alliance, but just really can't do it because it would be selfish for him. And so then he leaves in the morning before she wakes up to go to Morath. And it's also mentioned that he takes the two word keys with him. Um, Open to discussion.
Terrible
So,
bedside manner.
yeah, so rude.
Awful. Atrocious. Also, the world's most casual marriage proposal. Like, do you want to form an alliance?
Yeah, it's like that sound. The from Dwight. Would you like to form an alliance
Yeah.
with me?
And also Dorian just being like, you didn't outright say this, but that's how I'm interpreting it, so nah. I don't know. Um, I also like how Manon is kind of doubting herself here and saying, like, do you think I should have killed her? And they had that whole discussion about, yeah.
Yeah.
Before the
Yeah,
casual
yeah,
marriage.
I like whenever Manon is sort of takes her shields down and like is willing to reveal her true thoughts and feelings and like be herself with Dorian. It's nice to see, even if she doesn't want to marry him for real. Um, it's still nice to see her like in a space with somebody where she can let the guards down.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because we can't tell from her because she's just in that place where she's like making very strategic decisions regardless.
Yeah, this was the one chapter I feel like where there wasn't really any hope, but I still think
Mhm.
like moving
I
moving
mean,
on
I would
to
argue that even Dorian going to Morath feels hopeful.
that's what yeah, it like ends on that where it's
Yeah,
like we're moving to the next step. Like
yeah,
they're making moves, they're doing something to reach their goals, even if they're not gonna get married, which would be a cool wedding.
true.
Yeah.
But he chose the greater good.
He did. He did. I think he made the right decision for them in the end. Like he knows that it would not be a good situation for them to be in. Um,
Yeah.
who knows what will happen down the road, but for now, we can go to chapter 63. We are now with Adian and his crew, where he is stripped of his powers, but he still asks Ren in it's like if you still see me as a general, which you say you do, you need to call for aid. Just whoever the fuck will show up, please bring
Mhm.
them here. We need assistance. Um, what is that word? Oh, and then they get into a battle, and Morath is throws heads at them. And you can tell from the
Mhm.
emblem on the heads that it's Ansel's men, and these were the men that she was expecting to show up. So they got captured, got killed. So that is quite
Oh my god.
terrible to imagine. Um, and in the middle of this, when they kind of are thinking that they're lost, Rolf shows up with the Mycenaeans and fire lances, and they're able to get a good majority of the army onto the ship, and they're gonna head up to Orinth. So that was the hopeful part of the chapter. I feel like every chapter ends on a little bit of something. Was that Rolf either answered the call or was potentially already on his way um, to go give assistance, and
Mhm.
there's more hope for them against Morath now in the north that they have the ships, the people, and that they're moving locations. Oh, that's what my note said that I couldn't tell was that Adian is feeling like it's his fault that they're stuck where they are, and that he should have listened to Darrow and gone to Orinth. So this is kind of, I mean, it's not going to make him feel any better personally that he made that call, but at least they're going to where he thinks that they should be in the end.
Mhm.
Yeah, what are thoughts on that chapter?
I have so many feelings about how like Adian ended up getting like kicked out of general role, but then was still just treated like the general. And I'm like, what was the whole point of taking the trying to take the title away? It felt a little bit useless.
Yeah, I feel like that's a
Yeah.
thing in like positions like that though, where because the even higher ups were mad at him, so they took it away. But the will of the people is still that he's in charge. So I mean,
Yeah,
good thing they listened and sent those people for help because they clearly need it.
yeah, true. It feels also just like the scene in Lord of the Rings where the heads are being
Yes, it's
voted
100.
over
Rolf,
by
yes,
Minas Tirith.
This
yes.
whole chapter, everything feels like Lord of the Rings in it, honestly. Gondor
That's
calls raid.
I 100% am picturing Rolf jumping over the boat like Aragorn
Yes,
does.
Mhm.
Yeah. Even though like there's not
Yeah.
ghosts on there, it's like it's humans and they don't get off the ship. I'm still like he looks
yeah,
like Aragorn in that moment.
Yeah. SJM
100%.
was definitely like, can I copy your work? Can I copy your homework?
I saw
I
that
mean,
and
it's
it was really
iconic.
good. So
um, we can keep going. Get to more fun stuff. In chapter 64, we open on Irene. She's basically just tired. Poor pregnant lady out there. Um,
Yeah.
the rest of the Coggins army, the Cogganate shows up. So that's a solid, hopeful moment. We're like, okay, we are getting more people since they just lost a lot in the battle at Aniath. Aniath, I don't know how you say it.
Yeah.
So Fenris and Lorcan sort of have a moment where they are forgiving each other, catching up, being okay. Because Lorcan is, or Fenris is there when Lorcan wakes up from being injured. Then he sleeps again and wakes up, and his boo is there, the lead. They are a little awkward, but they are also making up for the words that were said before the battle, where she was like, "I don't care if you come back or not." and talking about their experience with her rescuing him. Then they tell each other that they love each other. Finally, goddamn you guys. And then he's trying to get her to stay with him while he recuperates. And then they do some steamy making out. And she does end up leaving so that he can heal, but says she's going to come back later. Wink, wink. So, Amber, go in on that chapter.
Why the fuck this man gotta try and call me on my bluff? Like, rude. First and foremost, how dare you just completely ride into battle and basically try and die, and then force me to go save you. But yeah, every single bed scene, I was just sitting there like, ooh, what's next?
I thought that this was the chapter, and I was getting very excited, and then I was kind of mad that it wasn't the chapter where, things happen
They were
between
still like
them.
in the middle of a war. Like, I get it.
Yeah, they're all still horny as fuck, though. Like
That's
in
true.
Game of Thrones, before that battle where, like, you couldn't see anything in the show, like how Arya's like, I should probably go bang someone. Like, I think that seems like how all these characters are, where they're like, I should probably bang someone before I'd maybe die, which I respect.
No, they like edging more. Like, I can't. There
But
have been like what 5 different scenes where people are like ready to maybe get the deed on, and then they like
We're gonna
stop
have another
right
one in a sec.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's when the book is YA, I guess. Um,
I don't know if
but
edging should be YA.
I
when
I
you
don't
put
think
it that way, no.
yeah, when you put it
Just
that way,
saying.
it's super dirty, but I think it's more like the YA yearning is what she's going for, which I do enjoy that, like, that little, like, right before. So I don't know.
Can I just interject with some
Oh,
negativity?
yeah,
I
yeah.
stay a Lorcan hater. Nothing can make me like Lorcan. I wish he died. Bye.
That is my husband you're talking about. How dare you?
No, your husband sucks.
I go back and forth on Lorcan. I think, like, when I think about how fucking old he is, like, he needs to get over himself, but I think he's also, like, he's still dealing with a lot of being, excuse me, bonded to Maeve, and I think that that kind of messes with your mind, and especially when he knows that Maeve can literally mess with people's minds. I think he's just, I would love to watch them go to therapy, just all of them. Um, they need it. I don't think they have therapists in this country, so it
I
sucks.
volunteer. I could make a killing.
Any
You'd make
help at
so
this
much
point.
money. You would
Right.
just be like
I'd be
the
rich.
queen.
I'd be on retainer for Aelin, please.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to sit in a room for like 24 hours a day and they would just come in and start spilling their problems to you.
Yeah.
Aylin's therapy session would be like, yes, you can bring your dog. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You've twisted my wrist, I guess.
He's like, "Can I bring my
I guess
bird?"
I can
You're like,
come.
"Is it couples therapy? Then you can bring your bird."
True.
Um, let's see. Oh, so yeah, the hopeful was the couple aspect of that chapter.
bleh.
Which
Next page. Chapter 65. Um, oh, I can't read my handwriting. The witch crew gets word from Terrace, and they get one of those people that Adian insisted on being sent. So that is fantastic. The 13 are the first to say that they will answer the call, and then all of the 7 Kraken. I always want to say Crochin because of the CH Kraken.
Yep.
All 7 leaders of the various Kraken hearths agree that they will also answer the call. And this is the, like, it's so epic. I can, like, picture it in my brain. Yes, your cocktail. This is when Manon does what the Queen Rhiannon before her did and lights the flame of war from the eternal flames to rally the witches. Um, it's basically just a magical moment, and this is where I shed tears the first time I read it. And then there's just like a fantastic montage that you can also picture in your head of the witches answering the call and seeing, like, passing the flame, and all these people who were in hiding because the Krakens were being hunted by the black teeth, iron teeth, were So they're like unwrapping everything. It's just like so cool to think about. And yeah, and then I wrote "Wah feels." So that is another like that whole chapter is so hopeful of that they are not only like we already kind of assumed that the 13 were going to go help out because they were like working with Dorian and everything, but knowing not only that all the other witches are going to go, but that like they're all also accepting Manon fully as the queen and like listening to her is um just a great moment, especially from what Manon, like who Manon used to be. And we like the books opened with her hunting the yes, now I'm saying right, the Krakens.
You're
So then
good.
now we're going from hunting them to gathering them to support the same cause as her is pretty cool to see.
It was also crazy to think about how many of those Kraken witches they missed when they were hunting them. Like,
That's true.
that's an insane number that they just, like, they had dedicated forces to go out and kill these witches, and
Good hiders.
they were really, really good at hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just hidden in plain sight. It was really an emotional chapter, and I loved all the trunks hidden in attics being thrown open, like kind of imagery at the end of the chapter.
I love that too. When you're listening to this, maybe you'll have seen a cool project that Cell's doing that will incorporate that imagery. So I'm pretty excited to assist with that little mini project now that I just skimmed. I didn't really skimmed this chapter for the podcast. So chapter 66, Aelin is finally waking up after expending all that power. What does that say? Oh, she tells Rowan that she sent letters north and also to the Fae, telling about her story, how Maeve had her captured, and saying that Maeve was Valg, which is a good thing. She did turn out to be Valg, and Rowan was like, "My God, you're like a little dumb. What if that wasn't true?" And she was like, "I don't care." Um, so that's sort of off into the ether, where that might come back later on in the book. Um, and yeah, and to the Fae, she asked for them to kind of disband Maeve's army and maybe make their own or like something there, but just like heads up, your leader is not who she says she is. That she also talks about the power that she used um, to make sure that the dam didn't kill everybody, and how she had been hoping to save that for Maeve, and so she's kind of going through that. They talk about that. Rowan and her are reflecting on her. Oh,
Oh,
we we've lost Liv.
oh no!
Hopefully she
She didn't
returns.
want to reflect.
She didn't want to reflect.
Oh
Oh,
no.
she's back. Are you there?
You're back.
You're back.
Oh,
Oh, you're muted.
you're on mute.
Back. It seems like the server went down
Uh-oh.
No, I think it's just you.
or something, but that can't be because you guys, I guess, we're in different places.
Yeah.
You've frozen a bit, so that it might be on your end.
So I missed you talking about Maeve being Volg being written and sent out, but
Yes,
that's what
that
I
was pretty much all I said.
okay.
And then we were saying, oh, how Aelin was talking about her power that she used. She had been going down into her power for 3 months and wanted to use that fire against Maeve, but she used it to save her people instead. Not really her, her forces, her allies. And then they're also talking about their time on the beach. And Rowan is feeling guilty that he didn't feel her small hurts from the bond and that she was able to get captured. Um, and so they're going back to that because again they need some deep therapy. And then she does, even though her fire power is gone, she summons a little bit of her water bending. That's from her mom's line as well, and just sort of plays with some water. Just a little bit of water bending. I literally am picturing like the beginning of Avatar with Katara. And then they kind of discuss. Oh, first they have some banter, which is nice to see. I like them feeling like themselves and not being in the middle of war. They also get extremely horned up in public and like they're like, "Oh, Rowan's like secretly touching that area where her legs meet, or the whatever they always describe as, her clit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys are in public. Like, I'm sure people can see you. Please get a fucking room instead of eating. Like, please, for just everyone's sake. Because also there's Faye there, which means they can probably smell you getting horned up. No one wants that.
Oh, extra gross. Thank you for reminding me of that.
I always think of that because if anybody who has read ACOTAR 5, they talk about that all the time. I mean, I know there's different Fae, but I still think these Fae can smell it.
I mean,
Then
Gabrielle at some point left their like outside
yeah,
their
he's
bedroom
like, you
door
guys
because
are
he was
getting
like,
horny.
"Nah, they're getting it on."
Yeah, they're getting it. And then they're like, no, actually, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and then go in public. And I'm like, please just go have sex.
Yeah.
Just a quickie, like, please. Because she even says that. She's like, maybe I'd take him right here. Like, no, Aelin, no. Then they discuss the next moves with the Cognate, like, where are they gonna go? What are they gonna do? Aelin reveals about Kale in front of his dad, how Kale is the hand of the king and outranks his father, the Lord. And his father's like, what the fuck? And Kale's like, I didn't. And they're saying that basically, in order to go the straightest route, they're going to need to give some of the land of Aniel to the men in the Farian Gap, or like give the Farian Gap. I don't know what I'm saying. They're trying to cross the Farian Gap, and so they're going to need to give the wild men some land because otherwise they're going to have to fight the wild men. And Kale's dad is pretty pissed about that idea. And then they mention to Aelin that Irene is out healing the Valg, and she is like, "Excuse me," and they go and take a look at her healing the Valg, which is why you shouldn't skip Tower of Dawn, because that's where you learn about that happening. But yeah,
It's a really good book.
yeah, it's also a good book, but I mean, beyond that, there's some incredibly important plot points. But that's something that we'll talk about in the right next chapter. But
For now,
besides our talk of them being all horny, any thoughts on this chapter?
I just love Kale's dad getting put in his place. Fuck that man. Whew, it was good.
His dad is the worst.
This is the chapter where he finds the trunk full of his mother's letters, yes?
No, that's the next one.
Oh, sorry.
Jumping ahead.
Jumping ahead. It's fine. We only have one chapter left. I can go through that quickly and talk about the dad too. We can discuss all of it. So after they see the Valg be healed, Rowan and Aelin are having a conversation, and they're sort of like, what could this mean for Maeve and Erewhon? Can they be healed? Because they're natively Valg. They're not being possessed by Valg, but like, that's up in the air. Could it keep Aelin from needing to do her sacrifice and forge the lock? Is sort of a discussion. They also look at the books that Kale and Irene brought back, the word mark books. They don't see anything that they need right away, but they do see something that basically makes a portal between locations, which could be important. Hint, hint. And then Kale and his father talk. They talk again about the potential of giving land away. His dad continues to be an asshole. And then his dad, as Liv foreshadowed, is like, LOL, guess what? I made your mom hate you and you hate your mom because I kept every single letter that she wrote you for years and years and just allowed her to think that you weren't writing her back. But your mom did find that. So there's a little bit of hope there that they will not get back together, their mother, son, but like reconcile at the end of the war, maybe. And so then Kale does end up giving the wild men some land, probably especially because fuck his dad. And then the end of this chapter, which is also the end of like a section of the book, a part of the book, is they are all going north together. Aelin, the forces that they've gathered there, the Cognate, they are all going. And my favorite part is that Aelin uses the little bit of power that she has, the firepower, and lights herself up as a beacon as they travel north, which is literally a symbol of hope, as well as just that ending being hopeful that they're making moves to go take Terrasen back. So yeah, go in on Kale's dad.
Yeah. What a garbage human being.
Does he die? No, wait, don't tell me. Can he die, please?
Uh,
He doesn't. I can kill him.
Oh,
yeah. Everybody will line up.
pardon?
Everybody will line up to kill him
Oh my god.
because he's
They'll
such
all
a
just go in.
human.
Kind of like when, why do I keep talking about Game of Thrones? When Jon Snow and they're like for the watch and they all stab him. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones. We can all do that to Kale's dad.
I think it's been
Spoiler
long enough
alert
now
after I
that
think it's
it's probably fine.
that show's been out for a while. If you haven't watched it already, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Um, his mother though, can we just she, realized that maybe this was happening, and her immediate thought was like, my son hates me and that's why he does it right. And
Well,
not
I mean,
just like,
I think I think it's cute that cute is the wrong word, maybe, I don't know. That she did like there's a trunk full of letters. She never stopped. She never stopped trying. Which I think would add to her being like, oh my god, he just must not care about us if he's not writing back because she kept doing it for so long. But I mean, there's a little bit of hope there in Kale's mom that they could
He
become
actually
friends
has a
again. That they
family.
could,
maybe just like go
yeah.
check on him in person. It's my like it's just it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, she would have checked. Come on. You're not just like, okay, bye.
I don't know. Kale's dad strikes me as somebody who's just like your place is in this house. You are running. I am the Lord. You are the lady. You are running this. Not like you
Yeah.
can't go off to check on our son.
But then he
I
also is
stop.
constantly sending like his wife and his younger son away.
Hmm.
Yes. I feel
Like,
like there
oh
was an
no, you've
opportunity.
yeah, just just leave. It's
And
you
like
don't have
not
to
taking
follow
care of the
everybody's
castle.
orders. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
just.
care. It's a castle. It'll be fine. It'll be there when you get back.
I don't
These are
know.
people.
Maybe just not great parents all around. Just
Yeah,
the vibe.
not ideal.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean, I
like
think
people that don't choose their kids first.
the benefit of book characters not choosing their kids is that we get to see more growth in the character, I think, because if his parents had been great, like Kale wouldn't have had so much internal struggle and turmoil over like doing the right thing, what is the right thing, and having shitty parents helps with that.
It
Because
sounds like you're very much of the opinion that like the only great protagonist is an orphan.
I can see why people write it that way because it's way easier to write that. I think, having never written a book myself, it
It's
seems
definitely
easier
easier.
to have there be character change than if you like have great parents. I mean, you can still obviously have character change and stuff even if you do have good parents, but um that's more of like a real life scenario. I think it's harder to like write about that is my assumption.
I like it when they have
Writers
great
tell
parents
me
and then the
what?
parents just keep continuously getting put in danger. The
That's
Mm,
true.
great parents. It's like, well, they're
that's
in
true.
danger now.
That's
But
true.
they're because they're such great parents, usually they can get themselves out of the danger. Just saying. There's thoughts.
Well, we went through all these quickly. I think it's because there were only like 5 chapters, and I feel like I've done other ones where there's 10. So, anything that you want to touch on, either in regard to the hope aspect of these chapters, which I think it's good that it felt kind of hopeful going into the or the at the end of I think just the first part of the book, and it's going into part two, and then I think there's also part three. I could be wrong though. Don't quote me on that. And so, anything to say about the hope, or if you would like to talk about anything that was in these chapters that will something that you're going to keep in mind either while you're playing your character Amber or anything Liv that sort of gave you costume inspiration thoughts, whether from like a like atmosphere perspective or the characters inner thoughts. I don't know. Go. So, floor's open.
I th- I think this concept of hope in general has just been the whole driving force behind my character. Just that
Yeah,
hope that
she's
she would be
hopeful.
able to escape from underneath her uncle's thumb, constantly pushing for that hope, and then like suddenly the whole world needs it, and she still is somebody that has it.
Yeah, Lead is a hopeful little girl.
She really is.
It's great. I love her. Too bad about Lorcan. Too bad about the man.
Who
But
would
that
you
gives
have
me
put Elid with? If you
oh, yeah,
could
'cause
have
you haven't
picked
finished yet.
Elid's partner, Liv, who
What
would you have
one at a
put
time?
Elid with? If you could have picked any partner for her, who would you have picked?
For a lead?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's
I'd
also
given her
okay.
a nice Kraken witch, honestly.
Alright,
Yeah.
I like it.
um, hey, it would have been nice if she hooked up with one of the 13 and then they live happily ever after.
Yeah.
Been nice.
That's because I don't think Manon's into her. Like, I think Manon's more of her
No.
mother. But there's got to be another member of the 13, we'll say for Liv's sake, who
Mhm.
who could cozy up with her.
Or just like literally anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts then on Adian? We didn't get a lot of him in this book, in these chapters, and like basically just like, oh, there's I see Lysandra, not much interaction, but what are your Adian thoughts if this is your Lorcan thoughts?
Um, I have read a bit forward and I don't want to spoil. I don't really remember which chapters the Adian things happen on, and I don't want to spoil them all, but I don't have high opinions of him still. Um, I
Who's your
don't love.
favorite male love interest slash male character, I guess? There I feel like most of them are coupled up.
Do I like the males at all? Let me just think
Yeah,
about this
that's
for a
another
second.
question.
I'm getting the vibe that maybe you just didn't, which is
Maybe I just
fair.
don't vibe with any one of them. Rolf's pretty cool.
Alright, we got one.
He is. And there's not a lot of him, so there's not a lot for you to hate.
Yeah,
True.
I
Like
mean,
it
there's
doesn't
some
go
pretty
deep enough.
concrete stuff, but
Yeah.
He has pirate, which generally gives kind of womanizer. Like if
Hmm.
you made it really broad,
I could fix him.
stereotype of it, but you know, we didn't get enough of that. We don't really see him as a love interest. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
I
part of
could
this.
fix that.
Maybe you just don't like when somebody
Maybe
tries to write a love interest, a
maybe
male
you
love
just
interest.
yeah.
I like them in other books.
But the good part is that there's a lot of like you don't even need to like the men because there's so many good women.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
solid.
I do like Kaol and Irene actually together,
Yeah.
and
They are a good couple.
I really like Tower of Dawn. That was probably my favorite book in the series so far, which is a wild thing to say.
It's so
I
fun.
know,
No,
but
I really like it. I think it was a little slow moving. Like not slow moving. Like I think that they could have edited her on it better, like shortened it.
hmm.
But I overall liked everything in that
Oh,
book.
caution. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. All the men in that book are great, pretty much.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are better. The men of the southern continent just
Hmm.
They just
That's
do
where
it
it's
better
at.
there.
was there I mean this was not really like an outfit heavy section, but was there anything that like struck you in terms of the just the fantasy world building that you would incorporate
Oh,
into the design?
we do get descriptions of Manon's crown, but I think that might have been earlier too that we got descriptions of that. And at this point, who knows if that crown stays around or if there's other crowns in the future, but that's a pretty good one. And we get obviously more mention of the Kraken scarves, but it's kind of brief. And I don't think there was anything that stood out to me in these chapters that would like carry over for our purposes. But
Yeah,
yeah.
there's maybe not battles happening in in ours.
Yeah.
So
We'll
no,
see.
this is battle heavy.
I do foresee something coming from this for Lorcan's attire. You're just gonna be like, throw a garbage bag on him and call it good.
No, no, I'm gonna do Lorcan justice. Don't worry.
Well, my favorite thing thinking
But
that is
your
that
justice, or
from our original film photos that I recently took and need to give to Sal of Lore, who's playing Lorcan, which causes me to spell Lorcan incorrectly, but
Mm.
Lore made like a jacket type thing, and she calls it a straight jacket because of like it like isn't the most flattering, but I feel like that fits for your interpretation of Lorcan is that he belongs in a straitjacket. So he doesn't touch anyone.
That would be lovely.
Just keep him
Don't
far
touch
away.
my little marshmallow.
They're like,
Just
I
keep him
will
in a
actually
padded
take.
room.
Yeah. No, he's just an old man who doesn't know what's going on.
He's old, and their height difference gives me the ick for
The
some reason.
height difference. If you've ever seen those like TikToks where a woman like puts all the fantasy boys like in height and compared to her, and it is Lorcan is like, "Ugh," like why?
Yeah.
Ellie's just a little bean.
I'm also a very short individual, so like,
So's your film husband though, so that's
yeah, we'll be all right.
make it till you make it.
Movie magic.
Yeah.
I've grown not to be
Let's see.
intimidated by those tall people
Mm.
for
The
for my
last
own
thing that
health.
we have to technically do, and we can keep talking about the chapters if we'd like, but we have to pick an MVP of this chapter set. My immediate nomination is to Manon, because
Oh,
she's epic as shit. I feel like my if we didn't know everything that Irene could do with the Valg, that she would be the MVP because that's pretty cool. Like to Aelin, she's probably the MVP,
mm.
but because we already know what she can do, Manon for me is MVP.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, I agree.
She's my
I wouldn't have gone so hard on the theme if I didn't agree.
I love it. I love the wardrobe. What's in your cocktail? Tell the listeners slash viewers.
Oh God, I don't remember. I posted it. Hold on. I just made the cocktail and drank most of it. I'm tipsy
Is
now.
it good?
Yeah, it is really good. I'm not the biggest fan of Campari, but I only put a little bit in it, and it is much more reasonable in this cocktail versus some of the other ones I've had. This is 1 ounce gin, half an ounce of triple sec, half an ounce of vermouth, half an ounce of Campari, half an ounce of pomegranate liqueur, 1 ounce orange juice, and you top it with an inside out orange peel with bourbon inside that you light on fire.
Every
Oh
time.
God. You always have something like that. I don't even like half those things, and that sounds delicious. It also sounds extremely alcohol forward. So,
Like I said, I'm probably a bit tipsy. I did eat before this, which is probably good. But yeah, it's a pretty hefty little cocktail.
and
Especially
it's
once like the bourbon falls into the rest of it.
uh, how much
Yeah.
bourbon is in there? Is it like
I just put in as much as I want into the little orange, whatever will
mhm,
light on fire.
okay?
That's my advice. That's my professional bartending advice.
Have
Uh,
you been a bartender? Is that why you're so good at it? Or oh no?
I used to be a bar back, but that was
Okay.
This is
nothing.
close.
I was carrying a bunch of random shit. That was it, and chopping up a bunch of lemons, limes, and oranges.
Well,
New
it's
lore
something.
just dropped.
Yeah.
New Amber lore.
To Amber Lord, we're getting to know me for real.
Yeah.
Well,
But
any final thoughts before we
We're
go?
we're halfway through, right? We're on to part 2.
yeah,
Wild.
we just have to.
That's great.
I feel like I hit this part in the book, and I had to get all caught up. I have finished Kingdom of Ash officially because the
Good
script
work. Good work.
dropped, and I
Yes.
wanted to read the script.
And we were like, you better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I hit this point in the book, and I was just kind of like, oh, there's still so much left. Like, how the
Yeah.
fuck are they gonna end everything?
Yeah.
So that's still where I feel like I'm at when we're rediscussing the summary of
Mhm.
these few chapters. It's just how does all of this get wrapped up? Even though I know inherently, but
Hmm.
I feel like every time I'm like, how are they gonna pull it off? Even though like I've finished the book multiple times. I'm still like, how do they do it?
I think that just means you're excited.
Yeah, that's true. Just kicking my feet a little bit.
Yeah, just
All right,
because
well thank you guys. Thanks for listening. And now we just need Cell to take us off the air.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Send it to your friends. Share it on your social platforms, your bookish nerds. Throw it in your Goodreads chats. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't even
Start
use
posting
Goodreads.
about it on Reddit.
Yeah, post about it on Reddit. Tell your friends.